All right, welcome guys to episode 1 of the Shadowhammer podcast or ShadowCast. Still haven't worked out the name yet, but I'll go with it for now. I am with my two guests and soon to be probably co-hosts. I don't know have titles yet, but we'll work it out. I'm with
We're on
Dan
trial.
on trial. Yes, we have Dan
Intern.
Brewer. Yes, you guys are both interns. We have Dan Brewer and then Jarrod from Bathurst. And then, yeah, so pretty much this is episode 1. We're going to be talking about our views on the GHB and what we think of it, and also about how our year is going in the hobby at the moment. And yeah, so quick introduction. So pretty much, I am Liam. I am also known as Shadowhammer, mainly because from when I first did this podcast 3 years ago. And yeah, so I got into the hobby when I was a kid. How to describe it? Yeah, got into it as a kid with Lord of the Rings. And then I did the classic go into 40k because all the cool kids played it. And then did the usual thing of high school, was too busy dating a different girl every week. And then, no, literally. And then after that, finished high school, became a photographer, and then realized that I need a new hobby because I turned my hobby into a career. And then I picked up 40k again. And then they said, look, there's this even cooler game called Age of Sigmar. Do you want to check it out? And then the rest is history. And then now I'm a competitive Warhammer player. And I don't know if I regret it or I am super happy, but we'll work it out in like 2 or 3 years' time. But yeah, that is quickly my little showdown because I'm sure throughout more episodes, people will start learning more and more about what my hobby is like and what I am like as a person. So
That's such an inspiring story of a slut who turned it around.
yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that 100%. That's better. But yeah, no. And then, yeah, I collect Balls of Cain mainly. And then I started a Sylvaneth army. And not Sylvaneth army, Slanesh army. I've been working on Slanesh. And then I do actually have the making of a Sylvaneth army. I had this really bad habit of buying, like, selling armies and then redoing them in 2 years' time. So I'm already planning to redo an OBR army, a Sylvaneth army, and then also start an Ironjawz army. And then for some little reason, I also want to do a Stormcast Dragon army. Yeah, it's a really big problem. Are they all competitive? I don't know yet, but that's me. Dan, do you want to give us a quick little rundown on yourself?
How do I follow that? Cool. I'm Dan Brewer, out of the
Dan
hobby.
Brewer, slut era.
Sorry.
Nothing, don't worry.
No, I'll explain my slut era. No, I forgot what I was going to say now. I started the hobby in like 2002. The day that Tomb Kings were released is the first day I walked into a Games Workshop, so I picked them up. Then a couple of years later, I picked up a Skaven army. Then I didn't play for about 10, 12 years. Moved to Australia, went into like if memory serves, I broke my iPhone. So when everyone was playing Pokemon Go,
yeah.
I think I pulled over because I saw like a Squirtle next to a Woolworths. Dropped my phone, shattered the screen. I was like, screw this game, I'm never playing it again. Had to go into the Apple store to get my screen fixed. They'll like come back in 4 hours. Happened to walk past the Games Workshop, and this time all the Tomb Kings were on last chance to buy, so I bought them all again. And then kind of ended up being known for playing Skaven, even though half of my events I played with Tomb Kings. So that's probably it. So,
And then
mostly because Tomb Kings are discontinued, so now I have to use Skaven. But
yes, you only have like mainly for Age of Sigmar, you have Skaven and then a Tomb King's army, which you could proxy as OBR if you wanted to.
Not fully, because it's not like for like, because the scale of the game's got bigger. So like Sepulchral Stalkers are not the same size as like your Shabti. There's like a noticeable change in scale, or like the catapults. Yeah, it's not the same. I probably could. It's possible. I've seen people. I'm most known for playing Skaven. So generally speaking, taking Skaven to most events where someone's actually noticed what I've done, or any events that I've actually won was always with Skaven. So.
Yeah, amazing. Jarrod, do you want to give us a quick little rundown on your hobby career?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jarrod. I'm from Bathurst, New South Wales, part of Crutchhammer, the gaming group out here. I got into Warhammer when I was a kid. One of my mates had some stuff and I thought it was cool, so I got some stuff as well. Then I stopped doing it in high school because it wasn't cool. And then I started doing it again probably 3 or 4 years ago now. It was just before we went into COVID, so like early 2020 or whatever.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What's that?
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect time. Yeah, so I think I got back in like a couple months before the Broken Realm stuff started. So I've been playing for, like 3 years, I guess. I've been playing competitively for probably 12 months. I own 10 armies. Most of them are Grand Alliance Order. A couple of them aren't, but mainly I play Stormcast, Daughters of Cain. I have played a little bit of Fire Slayers, and yeah, I've got the other 7 or 8 are in various stages of completion.
Yeah.
It's ironic actually, because I stopped playing tournaments around the time you started.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's just like high-fived each
So
other.
between us, we should have everything covered.
We probably should, yeah.
We probably should have it all covered, especially with the past meta and the current meta. I was just going to say, so history of how I met you two. So Dan was actually my first ever game of Age of Sigmar. He actually taught me how to play.
It's an intro game.
Yeah, it was like an intro game of like Sylvaner versus Skaven. And then I met Jarrod at Maitland GT, which we were just talking about before the show started, but it was actually like a really fun event.
It was really good.
It was a really good event, and they should probably do one again. And that was like for anyone who doesn't know where Maitland is, if you know where Sydney is, it's like 2.5 hour drive out. It's like kind of like near Newcastle. It's near
just
Newcastle.
Inland from Newcastle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a 2.5 hour drive, and yeah, it was a really cool event. It was like only like 40 player event, I think it was. I don't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah,
but it was 38 or something.
But it was really cool because like there was a couple of Sydney guys. Like it was only like about 10 of us, and then there was heaps of from like Newcastle, Lake Macquarie, and then there was about like 4 or 5 of you from Bathurst. Is that right?
Yeah, I think there was. Yeah, I think we had 5.
Yeah, like it was just like,
and then there was a couple of the boys from like Port Macquarie, Kempsey way, as well.
Yeah, it was like a cool mix of like seeing people from like different areas just like join to like one little hub, which was cool. But yeah, so for this year so far, guys, are you working on anything at the moment that's Age of Sigmar related? If it's 40k related, you can still talk about it. Cough, Dan. But yeah, are you guys working on anything?
I'll go first. It was only saying that because I'm literally building Harlequins right now. So yes, but I will get back into. I kind of take breaks from AOS and sort of come back to it. I haven't replaced it with 40k. I play very little 40k just as a painting project. I've just been working on a Harlequin army. I just wanted the challenge of like freehanding all the diamonds, sort of wet blending non-metallic metal, and kind of like very much a hobbyist army. So I wouldn't say I'm overly familiar with the rules in 40k, though I am familiar with some of the influences that 40k's chapter approved has had on the Generals Handbook and AOS. So I'll maybe comment on that because we're going to go through the handbook today. But for the most part, I played teams at the end of last year with Skaven. I do like some of the changes in the new edition. We'll go back to painting some rats, basically. So not overly working on anything right now, but in the near future, I think I'll start to pick up on Skaven. And when the next handbook drops, or like the next sort of 6-month cycle comes around, I'll probably jump in on that one. So.
Yeah, I think there's a rumor at the moment that we don't do 6-month cycle anymore with GHB.
Apparently it's going back to 12.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that in about 10 minutes. Jarrod, what have you been working on hobby-wise?
So the start of the year, I got about a third of the way through a Seraphon army, and then I've seen all the. I'm pretty excited. Like I said, I love Grand Alliance Order, and I absolutely love Seraphon, so I'm pretty keen to play them. I've seen all the new shiny stuff come out, and I immediately stopped painting Seraphon because I didn't want to paint something that was going to get replaced, because I'll 100% buy all the new kits because they're fucking beautiful.
Those raptors are sick. Like,
dude, those Saurus riders on the mini Carnosaurs are so fucking cool.
You can definitely.
The new slant's awesome.
You could definitely tell that the sculptors just watched Jurassic Park for about 20 times to get poses right. Being like, all right, this is the range now. But all they need to do now for the rest of the range is now get the Stegodons and the Basilodons and just make them bigger. That's all they need to do now.
They're not the biggest problems, though, when you look at that range. That they could do with an upgrade, but they don't need it. Well, if you
I don't think they're too bad, actually.
I just think
the Cold One Knights, they're in dire need of an update. Whilst it would just be nice if we had a bigger Stegodon.
I think Knights are gone. Knights are gone.
Yeah, they've
been replaced. So, but they were older than you, Liam.
Thanks, guys. I think you guys only just worked out on the weekend actually how old I am, and people were shocked. I was like, thanks.
So I got a bit through painting that, and then I stopped because I seen all the new shinies coming, and I didn't want to paint kits that I was going to replace. So I put those to the side. Lately, I've been helping my partner get her first army together.
Which looks great, by the way.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. She's done an absolutely wonderful job. She picked up a coolest army award at the first tournament she took it to, so she's pretty stoked with that. And then I've been painting. I haven't been painting, but I've been building and in the planning phase of a Skaven army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, rats. What was it? No, because we'll talk about it in another episode, but I did play your partner, and I just kept looking at her bases and the army, and I was like, this is actually like really goddamn pretty.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really cool army. So you guys she did an amazing job on it. Sick. Yeah. So my hobby wise, all I've done is build Slanesh and painted some paint bringers, and that's literally I've been doing like this cool like pearly effect on shields, which have taken forever. So yeah, so at the moment I built 22 Blitzbarb archers, and that's enough now. I don't want to do it again. Like that was the shittest experience of my life. I never want to do it again. So yeah. What else? And then built this terrain feature, and then now it's just working on painting everything for a event in June. So yeah, looking forward to it. Again, and I realized I have to paint an extra, I think 1,500 points because of summoning for Slanesh. So
Yep.
I completely forgot about that till
Good luck with
yesterday. Yeah, I'm so screwed.
Just paint like 3 or 4 keepers and just don't summon anything till you can summon a keeper.
I think my plan is actually just to paint fiends because I can smash those
yeah.
out, and then yeah, we'll see how
It
it goes.
almost cost a keeper, sorry. So I just put the fiends in your starting army and summon the keeper.
Nah, because my whole army's based on
that's-
models. But yeah,
But the keeper costs 36 and the fiends cost 30.
yeah, but fiends do have a completely different role to
Okay.
like
How much
keeper
do
secrets.
3 fiends cost?
In points wise,
Yeah.
200,
How much does a keeper secrets cost?
400.
Okay, so 6 more depravity.
I look. I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that I want to paint.
changed.
I want to paint fiends. Fiends are cool.
You changed, not entirely for the better.
We can talk about it in the Slanesh episode, but summoning a keeper of secrets is actually sometimes not the best idea because you lose all your buffs.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying summoning 3 fiends when you could summon a keeper of secrets. Or just summon demons.
That's a whole different
Put it in
episode.
your starting army, they're really good.
That's a whole different episode. The whole Slanesh talk is a whole different episode. But all I know is I have to paint a shit ton, and also I have to start painting cruel boys. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, so that's my hobby, and yeah, also part of my hobby is repairing Doors of Cain because those kits are fragile as fuck.
Oh, dude. Every single time I play Daughters, I break something. If I play a 5-game tournament, I break 5 models.
Yeah, and then you spend
1 per game.
And you spend like Tuesday or Wednesday just repairing it. You're sitting there just super gluing. Yeah, that's me.
You get to game 5. I think it's going great, then 5 break at once.
Those heart renders, I don't know how many times I have snapped them and pinned them and snapped them again and pinned them.
Nah, mine's
again.
Mine's the Blood Sisters hair. They fucking suck.
Yep.
They just fall off. But gorgeous
Or the
kits.
end of the spears.
I just had that happen for the first time at Bathurst. So I mean at Orange. So that sucked. So tomorrow is repair day for me, where I have to sit down and repair everything before I move everything. So we'll see how that goes. But that's my hobby. Games and event wise this year so far, and then we'll get on to our topic today. I have not really played. I don't really play much now as like practice games, except on like tabletop sim. So my current events has literally been like CanCon, and then War Under the Mountain, which we'll talk about in another episode. And yeah, so pretty much at CanCon, I brought my Frostheart dock, which has currently been doing really well. I went 4-1. I did a tactical submarine where my first round I played against Sam Morgan from Victoria, who's now in the AOS Worlds Australia team. So I knew he was a tough player. So I just played him, and I lost by like 3 points. And then for the rest of the event, I was just being a mid-table bully, which was kind of fun. I had a couple of mirror matches. I played a Doors of Cain mirror match, and they quickly learnt that Marathi is not worth 700 points. And
something I know you two disagree on.
She's not worth 700 points. She's not worth it. She's a great narrative piece.
I still take her in every list.
I've met so many Doors of Cain players where they just pretty much always auto like put her in, and I'm like, no, I just auto put her out because for 700 points you get so much synergy. But
it's not as good.
It is a great list, right? I've gone 4-1 and 3 events in a row with it. It's doing well. And also, let me enjoy my Frostlight Phoenix for the next 6 months before it gets written out of the game.
Yeah, before the Phoenix gets yeeted into Old World.
Yeah, I like let me just enjoy it, okay? And I've been enjoying watching my opponents hate my list so much. So yeah, so pretty much for people who don't know, the list is generally a Slaughter Queen on Cauldron with a Frostheart Phoenix, and at CanCon it had a Medusa and a Hag, and then 15 Blood Sisters, 10 Blood Stalkers, 10 Witch Elves. I was in the list, and then 2 units of 5 Heart Renderers and a Heart of Fury. The general consensus of the list is pretty much you debuff your opponent by not doing anything. Like, it just, all this stuff happens. And then, like, everything just happens because everything goes off on a 2-up or a 5 on casting value. And you pretty much debuff your opponent to, like, not be able to do any damage to you. And then you go in and just, like, counterpunch it with just a bunch of mortals. And people start learning that they can't charge you unless they have, like, a massive hammer unit that can do, like, 80 wounds to take out the 15 sisters. So, yeah. But that's generally it, really. It's a fun list. I played against Ogres, and what did I play against? Ogres, Doors of Cain, I think it was like a 12 or 15 Variant Guard list with Be'lakor, and then I played Fire Slayers with Magma Droths, and won all those games, got all my grand strats and battle tactics pretty much, and I came 17th, I think, in the end. Which I was pretty happy with, and then the most important thing that I cared about was getting best Doors of Cain player. So yeah.
Is that Sora?
No, Sora's outside.
No, that's my dog. Sorry.
That's all G. Dan, you didn't attend at playing CanCon, but you were there. Do you want to give any views on like?
I thought it was interesting actually because compared to some previous years, the top tables were very varied. Like there's a lot of variety, lots of different armies. Some people who haven't really been up that side of the room before, I noticed as well. But yeah, you saw all sorts of different armies doing well at CanCon, and even in terms of how it ran. So I was just sort of wandering around, and if anyone has a question, they can grab me, pull me over. Compared to when I've done that previously, it really wasn't stopped anywhere near as often, and it really seemed like there wasn't really any like overt dramas, if you like. But I thought it was cool showing that the game's in a relatively good place, purely the fact that in the top 10 there weren't. I mean, there may well have been 3 of the same army, but when you're looking around the top 10 tables, you were seeing a lot of variation from a lot of different lists. So I think having an overview of the event rather than playing in it, you could see that there was variety across the room. So obviously there's a couple of factions that aren't doing so well at the moment, but for the most part, it was a pretty good representation compared to previous years of different armies doing well.
Sweet. Jarrod, do you want to talk about your experience at CanCon or if there's any other events you've done?
Yeah, so I had a great time at CanCon. I took Marathi and the Bow Snakes. So Shadow Queen, Marathi, Hag on Cauldron, 15 Bow Snakes, 10 Spear Snakes, 2 units of Witch Elves. My first game, I got Soulblight Gravelords, and it was a dead tie.
Yeah, shit.
So that was a great game. It went 5 rounds, like down to the wire, which is, you can't ask so much more than that. They're really good games, those ones. Second, I played Khorne and won, and then I played 2 Slaves to Darkness lists. One, the Idolators list, where all the warbands are battle line and you can bring them back with a heroic action.
Yeah, right.
I won that, and then I played Slaves again, and it was the all Ogroids list.
There was an all Ogroids list?
Yeah, it's like all the Ogroid
shit. All right.
Formroid Crushers or whatever, the big ogre things and the couple ogre heroes.
How did that go?
I won that pretty convincingly. I think he had no shooting; it was just all melee. So I just screened and then let him hit me, and then counterpunched him and double shot him with bow snakes.
Okay.
Like a bad matchup for him.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I think he was like a pretty chilled out sort of player too. I don't think he was there to break any records or anything. He was a pretty good dude. Like, I'd definitely play him again.
He wasn't hunting a gold ticket.
No, I don't think so. And then game 5, I played Jacob Strachan and his Disciples of Tzeentch, and I think I lost by 2 or 3 points or something. It was very close.
Tzeentch is such a rough game.
Tzeentch is like probably the best counter for Daughters in the game, I think, because their single target damage is fucking stupid.
I still think Nurgle is, because they just shut off like our command abilities that we need.
Oh yeah, Nurgle would be a hard one. And they just eat all the mortals, right?
Yeah, they don't care. They're actually, I think they're actually probably the hardest matchup for daughters because
I don't think I've run into Nurgle yet.
I still don't think I've won a game with Nurgle flies because it's just brutal. Like they soak up everything. They're in your face, and like yes, I'm debuffing them, but at the same time, like them shutting down command. Well, it's just the shutting down command abilities is super strong because
I ran through them when I played them. That was interesting.
I've beat them with Stormcast, but I've never played them with daughters at a tournament anyway.
Yeah, I think
the teams event, the game after I played you, Jarrod, I played Nurgle next, and I had just all the flies just parked in front of me, and they just whittled down. So I don't know if it's like a single unit damage thing, which maybe Doc don't have the same way. I don't know.
It's more of a like early on we rely on.
Doc has really good single unit damage, so
yeah, I would think that you would be able to take care of it.
But like Liam said, we really want that command ability, especially when you play Marathi. You really want to be double tapping something.
Yeah, and it just turns it off. It's like, no, you can't do that. So then like you're paying 700 points for Marathi plus like 500 points almost for snakes to shoot twice, but they can't do that because you just turn it off, and now like you're just sitting there, and the snake, like bow snakes aren't great in combat. They're just witch elves.
Blood Sisters are only really good because you're doing so many mortal wounds. Like their attacks aren't that great. They're 3s and 3s rend 1. So
yeah, like I think
and they've got a mortal win save, so I guess
they've got the 5-up ward save, so they just eat the mortals.
Yeah, they don't care. So it's actually a really rough matchup for daughters. Yeah.
So yeah, that's CanCon. I went 3 wins, 1 loss, and a draw. So
solid.
I think I finished 38th or something.
Shit.
So top 40. I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah. So like so for people who don't know what CanCon is exactly, just to give you a quick summary, it's like the biggest tournament. It was the biggest tournament like 2 years ago where we had 200 plus players. I think we just got beaten by LVO.
Yeah, we got done by LVO.
Which is fine. Goals for next year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so pretty much 200 plus player event, and it's generally like the biggest celebration for hobby because you get to see so much cool hobby there. Like I don't remember one time where I was disappointed at like the hobby level going to CanCon because everyone like usually works on that one army for CanCon, and like that's the CanCon army they want to bring to like win hobby awards or show off what they've done. So yeah, it's really good.
When you see everyone all in one space as well, because it's like the only real, like Sydney Solder went up today, sold out. It's predominantly New South Wales ticket sales, and same with Queensland and Victoria. It's like the one thing where everyone seems to agree to migrate.
Yeah.
Except CanCon's on a national scale, right? It's every hobbyist in the country seems to just agree to meet there once a year.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how Parliament is. Like how government's is like, all right.
WrestleMania of Warhammer.
Yeah, so like it's just really cool event. I've gone to every single CanCon. I haven't missed one since the first one that Clint ran. And if it wasn't for Clint, I don't think I would be a competitive Age of Sigmar player at all. Because
it was his fault.
It's all his fault, but I'm still around. Honestly, if anyone
was my first CanCon, so I hope they do another one.
We can talk about that after this show of what's going on with that. But yeah, like it's like an interesting conversation because Clint stepped down because he's done it too much, and also he wants to focus on his own thing. And I think there's so much, and there's like so much behind the scenes stuff when it comes to like a convention like that where we don't see it all. Like, yeah, it's just it's a crap ton of work, and I think it was like at the point where it's just like, is it really? Do I continue kind of thing? Which I totally respect his view on it. But yeah, and then we also got to talk about another event which we did this week, but that's for another episode, which is going to be a great episode because I can't wait to talk about how good it was. Next thing is now GHB talk. I hate this GHB. For people listening or watching this on YouTube, or if you decided to like also watch this on Twitch, usually GHBs from when I played Age of Sigmar was once a year. You get this book for like $70. You get 6 to 12 battle plans and maybe a couple of rule adjustments and points adjustments for your army, and then that's your book for the year. You build an army around that book to take to CanCon or whatever the next big event is, and then you just play it out. You get sick of it after the 6th month, and then you wait for it to be over, and then so forth. This is the 3rd book where it's like 6-month release, right?
No, 2. This is second 6 month.
This is the second 6-month one, and I absolutely hate it. I want to go back to just
Being bored for 6 months.
not even like that. I just don't like these two GHBs what they've done where they're like, how to describe it. It's just
They
I
seem
don't
to
like
be
it.
having a theme now of like we're going to do monsters and infantry now, foot heroes, and like it's almost like a rotation of different things to test out.
Mm.
And that's can go one of two
Yeah,
ways. If you're a fan of
They're
that or not.
absolutely using it to test little rules for the next edition.
Yeah. So like they've been testing the whole thing with like expert conquerors, which is like this particular unit counts as 3 models, and now it's usually
they use that one to test the like units fight if they're within half an inch of a model that's within half an inch rule.
yeah, which
so
is
I wouldn't be
continued on.
surprised if we see that in 4th edition.
They did continue that on for this GHB.
Yeah, it's a battalion.
Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll bring up the battalion stuff now.
Cool.
So as you guys can probably see, I don't know if you guys can see my screen kind of thing, but this is generally the rules for the first one, which is realm rules. We're still in Gur. I freaking hate Gur. Can we just go to Ulgu now? Just give me my Shadow Elves and I'll be done and I'll be happy.
Please.
Yeah, just give me my Shadow Elves. That's all I give a shit about. And then
As
my
soon as
Warlock.
we get Malarian and Shadow Elves, all of my armies are going straight on the shelf, and it's balls to the wall.
Yeah, that's exactly me. And then
Olgu's one I'm finally going to get new Clanessian models because they're also a unit that's older than Leon.
Yeah, so hopefully we get this. Just get me out of Gur. I don't care about monsters anymore. Monsters was fun for the first little while. Now I'm sick of monsters. The special rules generally for this one is GCs now. So pretty much now we talk about like these wound characteristics, like these heroes with wound characteristics of 10 or less, but aren't unique. They're called a GC or Galatian Champion, where now you do special stuff with battle plans on them, and they can do some cool stuff. But at the moment, I actually don't abuse this rule at all. I don't really care about it, but I do know that some armies got a huge buff out of it. The big rule, though, that I think is key to me is, funny enough, it is key to victory. So if a Galatian champion cannot be picked as a target for attacks made by missile weapons while they're within 1 inch of any friendly battle line unit, this is definitely one of those rules where GW is trying something out completely. Like,
Yeah, definitely. They're using it to test something for the next edition of the game.
now,
Perhaps they should get playtesters for that rather than having their game be stagnant for 6 months.
Didn't they sack all the playtesters?
no, they're still around. But in another episode, I'm going to talk about one of my games that I did at Orange, where this rule completely fucked up my whole entire army when it came to the charge phase, because there's some really cool shit you can do with it. Desperate action. So if you're taking the second turn in the battle round at the start of your hero phase, you can pick one friendly Galatian champion to carry out 2 different heroic actions. I never do this ever, like at all.
It's very situational. Like, it sounds good because you can do like an unbind and a command point, or you can heal and a command point or something. But
it's at your hero phase. It's not at your opponent's phase. So you
it's
can't
only yours, and it's only if you go second.
Yeah, like
So
there's no incentive to go second with that. Whilst before the proving ground, which I still didn't think was enough, could at least you can strategically go, okay, you can't score this if I give you the turn. There's no real reason to go second with what they've done this time.
Like, it doesn't come up as much as it sounds like it would.
Yeah, you can go twice, but you're dead in my turn, so it doesn't really
look like
you have to walk into them being able to do something. So if they're doing something that's really useful at the beginning of their hero phase, there's a point to which you have control of it as the player who goes first, and to enable them to do something really useful, you know it's coming, and then you can sort of plan your turn to shut down the fact that they can't really do anything. It's like if they want to heal twice or something like that, like if you're in combat with me, you can't heal. So it's like you can limit how effective that is anyway, is my point.
Yeah, I just don't care about it at all. It's just one of those things where it's like super situational, and I know why they did it. It's because of like the special like battalion that they brought in and the heroic actions to follow it, which is again super situational.
It's that, and what Dan said, it's that they're always trying to add that little incentive to go second, so that when you win a priority roll, it's not just an automatic, I'm going to take the turn straight away. It's also why you see battle plans like Jaws of Galette, or the other one where you turn off the objectives or on the objectives if you go second.
Yeah,
Like they're always trying to give you that little incentive to actually stop and think about the decision.
see, I like those way better. Like Proving Ground was so good because you could literally stop someone from like taking your objective because they're not bringing something like a Galatian unit from last.
It was the
book.
same though. It was situational. Like it depended on your opponent's army composition, and
Yeah.
if they had GVs, if they didn't,
Yeah.
But I think it was
I'd
probably
agree with that. I think that's fair.
it was probably more impactful than just having 2 heroic actions.
Yeah. Well, next thing, I'm not going to go through the 2 special heroic actions because they're just super situational and no one ever runs them, and that's how bad they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're so shit. I don't like them. The spell though is really good, but again, it's super situational where pretty much casting value of 6, range of 12, pick 1 objective within range, then roll a dice for each unit within 6 inches of that objective. On a 4-up, they take d6 mortal wounds. Really cool spell, especially when there's battle plans that are a full quarter. And you can blow
So
shit
you
up.
can't blow up the entire quarter
But
because
you
it specifies it's X amount of inches from the center.
Yes.
But you can blow up a big chunk of the middle of like somebody's deployment zone and shit.
Yeah. It's still
You
good
have to be
though.
relatively close to do that as well.
You do, unless you've got like Techless with a spell portal or something.
Yeah.
Then you're investing very heavily, so I don't mind that.
It's a cool spell. No one ever casts
It's
it.
good.
I probably would because I tend to run relatively aggressive wizard heroes. I always tend to move mine forward. So
Rat
Yeah.
Jesus.
Does anyone... We had a command ability?
Yeah, it's you can not pile in and get +1 attack.
Alright, I'm never using that. So, okay,
But
cool.
it's, again, super situational because it's only if you... Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's only if you didn't get charged.
The unit that receives the command must be a friendly unit that is not a hero or monster but did not charge in the same turn.
You
And is
did
within
not
3
charge.
Yeah, and that's within 3 inches of an enemy unit. That unit cannot make pile-in moves in that phase, but add 1 to attack Chris and melee. Yeah, no, I'm good. Cool.
So it's okay if you get bogged down into something that you need to try and clear, but if you've charged something and didn't clear it in the turn that you charged it, like you've probably got dramas anyway.
Yeah. So the thing I like in this whole realm rules is key to victory. That's the only thing I actually give a crap about. Like that's all I care about is that. But following that,
I don't think this JHB. I don't think it's great. I think it's better than what we had before. Like it's better than the last one, but I still don't think it's very good.
yeah,
It's
agreed.
okay. It's like I'll play it because I love Age of Sigmar, but it's not super duper.
Agreed. Like it's just not my favorite, and we can talk more about it with these certain battle tactics. But the next thing that you get with GHB is core battalions, which, to be honest, there's only one that is like cool, which is the Galatian veterans, because certain units need it. The thing I don't like is sharpshooters. So sharpshooters, so the cool rule that I talked about, which is key to victory, Galatian sharpshooters just completely negate that completely. Where I know what they were doing, which is for armies like the Techless Sentinels list, which were 1 drop, and they just shoot off little heroes straight away and don't care. This is like
They can't be 1-drops anymore.
they just can't be 1 drops really. That's
That's the
literally
point.
it.
They're trying to encourage people not to take a 1-drop. Like
Yeah.
they're trying to give people options to say, oh, if you don't take a 1-drop, you get this cool thing or whatever. But I still think it's better if you just take a 1-drop.
You just take 1 drop.
Yeah,
I'm
I
still
think
of the
I think
opinion a 1-drop
sharpshooters is a trap.
good.
Galatian Command is a trap because it's based around a heroic action, but you're never going to get. Like,
You can't put artillery in sharpshooters, can you? Though? Like,
no, it's
No,
it's a unit with a win characteristic of 4 or less that is not a leader, artillery, or behemoth, and does not have the mount.
it seems silly to me that you can't make artillery sharpshooters.
Yeah, look, it's
I don't know. It's just my opinion.
there's just so much. The only thing I care about is the Galatian veterans, which is the Bonds of Battle rule, which you get from the last GHB, where units that are within half an inch of an enemy, but a friendly unit's it's a model within half an inch of a model that's also half an inch to enemies can also make an attack. So it's like good for
You
units.
fight in 2 ranks, basically.
You just fight in 2 ranks with big bases, which is good. What else we got for Galatian champions is cool artifacts. So we got the Tusk Helm. After the bearer makes a charge move, pick 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of the bearer. If you do so, roll a number of dice equal to an unmodified charge roll for that charge move. For each 4-up, the target suffers 1 mortal wound. It's just pretty much ogre charge rule. I don't really see much use in this, but I do know that there might be some characters. Like, does it stack with ogres? Can they do this twice?
I don't see why not.
So like,
Because there's 2 different rules.
yeah, it's just more like, yeah. So you could probably do this
The
twice.
ogre heroes don't get it on a 4-up anyway. The heroes get it on a 6-up.
I think if you take Meat Fist or something, you get a buff out of it. But
Oh yeah, you get +1 or something.
yeah, so like you can do your charge roll. Let's say you roll a 10, you roll 10 dice, then you roll 5 ups. That's mortal wounds, and then Tusk Helm, you do it again, but it's on 4 ups.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
It's again situational. I'm a big fan of the personalized artifacts and like enhancements in the GHB. I think the special GC artifacts and traits are really cool. I like what they've done.
I think it's, yeah, Griffaber Charm is back, which is cool, because that used to be -1 to hit in Malign Sorcery in 2nd edition. So now it's just a 5-up ward, which is really good.
It's good.
Yeah, Nightflyer Cloak is alright.
I really like the Nightflyer Cloak.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about one of my games again at Orange where one opponent had it and then misused it. And I was the bearer of bad news to him that it doesn't work like how he wanted it to. But yeah, he was trying to get a certain battle tactic. And then I explained to him that, long story short, he wanted to do a particular battle tactic, which was cunning maneuver. And he didn't realize that the unit that you pick had to be on the battlefield already to do that battle tactic. It can't be off the board. Because instead of setting it up on the battlefield,
the 9 away one, isn't it? Yeah. That one. So you just appear 9 away.
You appear 9 away.
Yeah, it's just a deep strike.
Yeah.
But he was trying to do the thing where it's like, all right, so I'm going to pick the hero that is off the board to do it. And then when he did it, I was like, look, dude, like,
you can't pick him.
You can't. He's not on it. And then he realized he fucked up. And then that was it. Tunnel Master. So pretty much these are unique enhancements. So this is like extra from like if your small little character is the general, he gets a trait. If he gets an artifact, he gets an artifact. And then this is an additional one, which is like aspects of champions. So we have Tunnel Master, which is once per battle. Instead of picking an escalation champion to make a normal move, you can remove it from the battlefield and set up any gun on the battlefield more than 9 inches away from enemy units.
So they don't have to be the general. You can just give it to any.
Oh, you can give it to any hero. Yeah, I'm just saying like an example.
Like
I was just saying that like one character could get up to 3 enhancements. But you can give it to like
if they were a GC.
Yeah. Fueled by Gurish Rage. Once per battle, before you allocate a wound or mortal wound to escalation champion, mortal wound would cause it to be slain. You can roll a dice on a 3-up. That wound or mortal wound is negated, and you can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to it instead. That's alright. That's the one that I think a lot of people looked at being like, oh, this is so good. But then when everyone read battle tactics and stuff, they realized that the other 3 or 2 are better.
I think each of them, I think they're all situational. I think Tunnel Master is going to be the auto include that you see the most.
Yeah.
Closely followed by the Fueled by Gurish Rage, where you get back up with D3 wounds. But I feel like the other 2 can be really good in certain armies. Like I really like the one where you get back up. I love Stubborn as a Rhinox. I take it all the time. But I like the Fueled by Gurish Rage on something like a Wergog Prophet.
Yes.
Where you do the Starey McClary and then you kill yourself and then you get back up with D3 wounds and keep
going.
The Jesus tech.
Yeah. You just keep Care Bear staring people off the table.
Yeah, see that kind of like thing, it works really well for that.
Well, you take 2, you give one the Griff Feather Charm, so he's got a 5-up ward. Then you give the other one the 4-up ward and gets back up with D3.
See, for me, I've always picked that with my Hag Queen because the Hag Queen was so like linchpin. But then after like a couple of games with the new GHB, I just realized that Tunnel Master is just way better.
Yeah.
Summoner Rhinox, this GC counts as 10 models for the purposes of contesting objectives while there are no enemy Galatian champions contesting the same objective. It's pretty good. It's great.
It's my favorite.
I like that one as well.
Leadership
I want it on a Death Master, just to jump out of a unit and be like, mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Leadership of the Alpha. Once per battle, this GC can issue one of the following commands up to 3 times in the same phase: rally, all-out attack, all-out defense, or redeploy. If you do so, no command point is spent for the 2nd and 3rd time. This is really cool, but now you're seeing armies getting to do this for free without even using an enhancement.
I still like a triple redeploy because I can double redeploy in my army, but I would like the ability to do more than that.
It's okay, but I don't think it's as good as it sounds. Because
I mean, it's situational.
Yeah, it's very situational. I think it's more situational than what it sounds.
Yeah.
Because
I think if you build for it though, because for my army that's amazing because I can reposition where I want to put engineers and things like that.
But everything has to be in range.
Yes, but the repositioning is: do I want to put something just in combat behind this other unit so I can then scurry away? Or like for me, it would be a really useful tool.
Yeah.
Also, if I want to set up the brass orb, which I'll still take all the time,
Oh yeah.
I think there's a good way to redeploy something back to then move the engineer up to pull it into combat to scurry out to brass orb something.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like Liam's Phoenix, and the brass orb Liam's Phoenix. Do you remember that name?
Yes. And the Phoenix was still alive.
I originally thought of it in dock with the 4-up rally. Then I realized you have to have 3 units that have been damaged.
Yeah, that's not
a rally, and they all have to be in range. And it's a lot more. It's a lot more situational than it sounds on paper.
I agree. For me, I'd be using it to mess with things that are already huddling together anyway. So, and that Archwalk is likely going to be my general as it is.
Yeah.
So, for me, I think that's something I can play with and build around quite a lot. But I don't think there's many armies where you would want to do that. So the example you just gave with like the rallying on dock when you're already quite big units, generally speaking, like the 15 snake archers or like 15 blood sisters and things like that, it's just not feasible. But for me, I think I can do little tricks with it. So I'm just thinking everything from my point of view. So
yeah, no, that's fair.
The
only thing I would take is literally Tunnel Master. That's it. Like, especially now when I'm thinking like Slanesh and stuff, it's more like Tunnel Master is the only thing I can pick up because with the like using up the 3 command abilities, I get it every turn, every phase. Like, it's ridiculous. And same with like what is it? Same with fucking Gloomspite. I think they can just use it as many times as they want as well.
They only get the rally, I think. The rally 3 times.
Can they do all out attack 3 times? And because they get +1 attack? Because I have a rule where if you use all out attack on Trogs, it's something weird where they get like +1 attack.
That's the Trog boss. If the Trog boss gives you all out attack, you get +1 to hit and +1 attack.
Yeah, alright.
But I think it's got to be a Loon boss that does the triple. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up.
I need to read that book. There's so many books I need to grab. But you know what I wish they had? I wish they had it all on digital. But that's another topic for a day.
If you buy the books.
No, I don't want to pay $70 for a book that I'm not going to read besides online.
Wikipedia.
Funny that. Grand strats, there's 3 normal ones. Tame the land, defend what's ours, take what says. Take what says is always the one that I see on everyone's list.
It's the one that I just gravitate towards.
I think all 5 of my opponents on the weekend had this. I'm pretty sure.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and then
one of those that if you end up winning the game early anyway, you'll just get your grand strat.
And it's pretty good if, like, you've got those late game teleports available, or if you've got units like Harpies or something that just zip around the board so quick that turn 4 and 5 you can just push everything into your opponent's deployment.
Yeah, like I see it all. I just think there's some books now they're actually getting better ones, but I do notice some books were really hard ones, like really hard ones. So they
I do think
towards
that's something that I would like the handbook to fix in future because we've recorded this once before, so I'm aware I've already said it. But like that sort of having each army having their own grand strats, and then that being such an unlevel playing field really is a huge advantage. And it's something like when they revise the handbook and the points, I think they should revise the battle tactics and the grand strats for each army as well. And they do that in 40k in the chapter of Brute. So they have secondaries in their armies, and they're all unique to each faction. And then every time they redo the Generals Handbook equivalent, they'll revise them in some way. So if one's really commonly taken and it's really easy to achieve, they'll tone it down. If there's one which no one's taking and then it's too poor and not worth it, they'll sort of bring it up. So I do wish they had that ongoing balance with grand strats and battle tactics and Sigma.
I think you'll start seeing that on Battle Scroll, which is a 3-month update, because I do remember Doors of Cain got nerfed because 2 of our battle tactics lost the extra VPs. Yeah. Well, it wasn't too easy. It was just like, it was one of those where it's like, have 2 battle line units or 2 friendly units in your enemy's territory, and you score an additional point if 2 of them are witch elves.
The additional points.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like,
you don't get the additional point anymore.
Yeah, you don't get the additional point anymore. So
this is a very easy, achievable battle tactic. Plus,
It
all of
is.
mine are horrific, and my grand strats are awful. So that's what I mean by I wish there's sort of, because if you look at, they're trying to balance things based off win rate. I actually think changing the battle tactics and grand strats versus like the rules and the points is just another tool they can use to balance things. And it's strategic as well. So if you're going for it versus I just have this busted unit that just has to run forwards, you're buffing an army based on decision making as opposed to power of the army. I just think it's something they could do as an idea. So
I could see them doing that in GHB more once a year kind of thing. Where it's
I'd
like
be interested to see something like that.
currently at the moment, I think they're trying to smash out all these books so quickly, and then they're going to see how all the battle tactics and grand strats work, and then they'll probably fix it up because everyone will have their
they're all out. I wouldn't be surprised because even like Flesh Eater Quads still don't really have them. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they're doing. And there is increasing overlap between AOS and 40k lately, and that is something that has worked very well in 40k.
Like,
but it's not exactly the same though. It's still different.
Like, I'm just thinking, right? Like, if I'm looking quickly, so at the moment, the only books, so Caesar Sigma will get their third, like, just give me an idea, Caesar Sigma will get their own book soon. Doors Arcana sorted, Fireslay sorted. Like, the only books in order left is literally Seraphon and Cities. So they'll have their update, and then after that, Order will then probably have their fixes on battle tactics. Chaos, I think every single army now is out.
After Khorne Slanesh, that's it.
Yeah, and then with Destruction, all of them are out.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's just mainly Death. So we're going to get OBR, Soulblight, and then they're coming out soon. So they'll get their like update. No, so they'll get their update of like battle tactics and strats. And then after 40k release in July or June, whatever it is, then you probably see FEC get their update in September, just before Christmas time. And then that then would be the time where like Battle Scroll will probably come out in mid-January, where they'll fix whatever battle tactics or grand strats need to be fixed to help the army's win rate, because all of them will be out.
Need to wait though, because they didn't. I'm only saying this because I've seen this. I'm not a big 40k player. I'll make that disclaimer very early. Just the fact that the Imperial Guard book not long came out. So when they did the updates, where they updated them all, they put a subsection aside for Imperial Guard and just said they introduced them to the game. So they could still do that with Sigma. Whether or not they'll wait until every book has been literally released, I don't know. Just because it might be something they never do, but I don't think they have to wait. Is kind of my point.
Well, they've released that roadmap now with all the battle tomes on it, and FEC will be the last one, obviously, at the end of the year. But they've also got that mystery book, and it's rumored to be another campaign style sort of setting, similar to Thondia or Broken Realms, which will take us into sort of the next, if it's not the next GHB, the next edition. So that could be a time where they do a lot of that balancing as well. I'm pretty sure
it's just all narrative stuff. Like, it's just Broken Realms like thing. But
it'll be the next like Seasons of War. Like we had Thondia, then we'll have some other area. We'll get another Incarnate and all that sort of stuff.
Oh god, another Incarnate. No, it's been so good not to see anyone running them. I haven't seen one on the table.
Got rid of the other one.
What is it? So just quickly, the grand strats for this JHB are all based around GCs, and no one will ever take them because they're super, super, super situational. Like Stake a Claim, you complete this if you have 3 or more friendly GCs are wholly within enemy territory. Whatever, no one's going to take that. There's no army I can think of that would succeed that. Doable with a Fire Slayer. And then
that's just one hero, right? That's just one hero?
Yep, but it's got to be a general.
But also, like, Jaws of Galette, right? You can just destroy the
objective. I could do that one.
Well, no, so there's some battle plans where you can destroy objectives, and that one there, I would just be like, I would just destroy all the ones that are outside his territory.
It's seriously battle plan dependent too, because there's some battle plans now where deployment is your deployment zone is halfway, so the 2 objectives in the middle aren't wholly outside your deployment, so the only one you can do is your opponent's home. So you've got 1 objective on the entire board. You've got to get your general all the way across there. Yes, and he can't die. So I don't think I ever take it. I think it's dumb.
Alright.
Situational.
Days ours, complete this grand strat. If there are more friendly GCs from your starting army than your opponent's army, cool. Not like
Situational again.
super situational. Like you can summon GCs. So like for example, someone like Zeech or Slanesh or Nurgle can just summon a GC. So yeah.
Yeah, but that also means that you have to have a hero that hasn't been killed already.
Oh
Just
yeah.
kill all the heroes and they can't summon.
Yeah, it's just something that like you can easily be screwed over, and it's just
Mhm.
Just kill the heroes, man.
Too easy for your opponent to deny it.
agreed.
Yes.
My favorite thing, battle tactics. Woo! So the 4 battle tactics have stayed the same: gaining momentum and eye for an eye, desecrate their lands. This one's mine. They've been in the past 2 GHBs or the last GHB.
Just the last one.
I don't think you'll see them go. They might get tweaked to be a bit harder. This General's Handbook's definitely been one where there's not an auto one to take turn 1. If you get given turn 1, there's not an auto one kind of thing. The only one that's like close to it is probably Cunning Maneuver. So Cunning Maneuver is pick a friendly GC on the battlefield that is more than 3 inches from enemy units. You complete this battle tactic if at the end of the turn GC is more than 3 inches away, is contesting objective you control wholly outside your territory. Super, like, that's the one I usually go for. If I can't do that, or if I don't want to put my GC at the front line, I then just do desecrate their lands with Harpies. But that's just me with my army. But that's the one I think is like, it's a good one. Like, it's the one that everyone like keeps for like turn 1, turn 2, because all these other 4, plus your own ones, like they're the ones where people wait game because they're super easy to do. A Matter of Honor, pick one GC champion or Swarm Bodyguard unit on the battlefield. You complete this tactic if this unit destroyed is attacked made by a friendly GC. So it's just GC kill GC, which not all GCs are super fighty, but some GCs are really
A
like
lot of them are
hard to
support
kill.
heroes.
Yeah, it depends on your army, right?
Like a Vargulf, that would be great for that.
Yeah.
Or like a Mega Boss on foot, or a Rune Father, or something that slaps. But your little Sonari Cathalar or something's probably not going to kill anything.
Nope,
No.
nope, not at all. And it's done by an attack.
Especially when it says attacks made. You can't even do it in spellcasting or anything like that.
Exactly. Lead the assault. You complete this battle tactic if at least 2 of the objectives you control are in enemy territory and are each contested by a friendly GC. Not happening. Like, nope. Like,
Nah.
no, that's not happening.
No, you can write it off.
Yeah, you can write that one off. United Defense. Pick one objective.
Delete it from the book.
Pick one objective controlled by your opponent. You complete this battle tactic if you control that objective with 2 or more friendly GCs. Nope.
No.
Not happening. Yeah, like this battle tactic thing, like it's hard, and armies like giants don't do well with it. They got these 3, I mean these 4, and then they got their own, which is good, but it's the same time it's just very limiting.
I would say that that's kind of the thing I don't like about this theme thing they're doing. Of we've got monsters, then units, then champions, and like we're doing different like sort of flavors every season because not all armies are equal when it comes to that stuff, and it's kind of like, well, my army is completely redundant for the next 6 to 12 months because it's not gifted with these things, and my battle tactics suck. So like, it is something they're doing that I can't say I'm a fan of, to be honest.
Agreed. Yeah.
I spoke about this last time we talked about this, but I think the problem with what they're doing is I like the fact that it's themed, but I think it's too specific.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if they just said this GHB is about little foot heroes, and
Yep.
they said, cool, Galician champions is a thing, but a Galician champion is just any hero with less than 8 wounds.
Yes,
Cool.
I agree.
That would
Getting
have
rid of
opened up.
unique is strange to me.
Yeah. The problem is it's way too specific. They've gone like it has to have less than this amount of wounds. It can't be unique. It can't have a mount. It can't do this. It can't do that. If they just said a GC is a hero, it's got less than 8 wounds, it would open up so many more options for so many different armies. And I think it would make it a lot easier to build lists and play around tactics like that.
Like
I agree.
the thing
All
I
the
don't-
Underworld's warbands alone become obsolete, which they
I
already
don't
kind
think
of
there's
are.
a reason why something like a loon boss on a giant cave squid can't be a GC.
So like this is the
He's
thing.
got a
Like,
mount.
I like kind of agreeing with your point. It's just I don't understand like why can't a hero with a mount be also like a veteran? You know what I mean? Like why can't that be a champion? Like
Exactly right.
yeah, like it doesn't make any sense.
And it gets a bit silly too with the way that they categorize things. like if you take the Soul Mason from OBR, he's got a chair. The chair counts as a mount, so he can't be a GC.
Yeah, it's dumb.
So, you get dumb stuff like that where it excludes so many different units. If they just said, cool, it has to have the hero keyword and it can't have any more than 7 or 8 wounds, I think it would open up such a wide array of models and units for people to use. I don't think it would be so much of a feels bad.
And if there's something that gets exploited through that, they can balance it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Increases points because it's now got an extra ability, and that with that extra abilities of being a GC.
There's nothing that you can. Yeah. There's nothing you can really give a GC that makes him like super broken. Like,
no, here's the thing though: that the things that probably already are got through the net anyway.
Like exactly.
Like,
Like I'm surprised
the Soul Mason untargetable. I don't know.
Like I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, never. Or low 10.
Yeah. And like even the unique artifacts and things, there's nothing in there that you could give to a unique character that would make them dummy busted. Like there's one that you can give them a 5-up ward, but if they're unique, you can't give them artifacts anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one did grind me is because I use a unique character very regularly, but it just seems silly to be excluded because I do use one of the Underworld's warbands. And it's also because Slink, but they've also got the Deathmaster, which is the non-unique version, who's nowhere near as good, and so isn't as unique, isn't as fun. His rules aren't as sort of crafty and tricky. Like,
but even then, right? If you could use Slink to score battle tactics, you couldn't give him the cool artifacts or enhancements anyway because he's unique. But you could use him to score.
So there's already a cost. They still have the downside of being unique. But I'm just aware that I'm coming at it from a bias because I want to give it to a unique character, but it just seems a bit silly. Like I can't give it to Slink, but Vargolf can come and wreck me.
I want to make go
protected all the way,
but I can't.
Yeah.
Look, I'm in the view of like GD. I'm looking at like the fact of like my armies that I'm looking at. Like I'm fine. Like no matter what army I collect, I got like a few GC options, but I never like the whole idea of like. It is nice, I'm not gonna lie. But I also just don't understand like how some armies, like Slaves of Darkness, right? Like a Chaos Lord and Demonic Mount can't be a GC. Like I think a champion, right? Like it's called Galatian Champion. Like I see a champion in my head as like someone with like a mount with them, if that makes sense.
And not like a monstrous mount, but like even like
just a horse. And but like most of those characters are like 8 wounds or 9 wounds. Like they're in that.
Yeah, it is weird, I think.
But it's just that's my view on it. And
also mine.
This Generals Handbook is there's scenarios where there's one scenario that's a complete write-off, and I'm so glad no one's running it to prove a point that it's a shit. But the thing is, though, I hate seeing like people on YouTube play it. I'm like, you're just giving what GW wants, showing this scenario being played. If no one plays it just gets written off.
Probably the worst battle plan I've ever seen.
Just to touch on what you just said, if no one plays it, it gets written off. I think the community as a whole, and I've said this before, needs to do that more in general, because if it does get written off, and it would, GW will quickly start responding to that. So like if they write a battle plan that literally nobody plays, that is not going to survive the next edition. It is not in any tournaments. So I think the community needs to be a little bit more... I'm
pretty sure I haven't seen one event run this battle plan.
Yeah, well, you would hope that they'd look at that and then do something about it. And just in general, because you could, I mean, there's a fine line of where you go with sort of comping stuff. But
like, I feel like this was written by an intern.
That's dependent on GW actually looking at what battle plans people play too. Like, you've got to assume that they're actually looking at that data.
Well, assuming that they're not, then it's still up to us to.
I can tell you this right now. Honest Wargamer Rob, he has stats on what battle plans are being played in each tournament.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And he's and apparently out of all the events so far with this GHB, only one, and there's like hundreds around the world, only one has played Twists and Turns, which speaks volumes.
Because it's terrible.
It's RNG based. So.
It's terrible. I like this one though.
It's the too specific factor. When they write a battle plan, they write the little twist in the battle plan, and if it's too specific, it makes it a bad battle plan.
Yeah,
like agreed. This one, they've made the twist too specific, and it's way too much bookkeeping. It's a headache to try and actually remember what's going on in the game. Bad
Easy
battle
to
plan.
forget and miss, and you can't really go back. As well.
Exactly right. Yeah, and it affects. You're right. You can't go back and fix it because you've already done a whole turn.
As
Or
soon as
something.
you acted, it's too late. So.
But
Yeah.
other battle plans like Prize of Galette or Jaws of Galette, where they've written the twist and it's very simple, they haven't overcomplicated it. It's just you turn one on or you turn one off. That's it. Great battle plan.
I do like the deployments in like Jaws of Galette and stuff like that.
I hate that fucking deployment.
I love it.
It gives me the shits.
I love it.
What's that old one which everyone hated a few years ago?
I'll find it. Someone posted it on Facebook. No.
Yeah, the relocation org was amazing. It was like there was just one where everything was 9 away, but it was from this sort of line like that. But it worked.
Is that the one you were telling me about the other day? That's the radius or whatever.
Yeah.
It was very impractical. It took longer to set the game up than it did to deploy.
To play the game, yeah.
I like this one, Ours for the Taking, because the actual like this scene here is like classic like objectives, but I really like how they score.
Mm-hmm. I like Ours for the Taking.
Yeah.
But again, it's very simple, right? They've written the twist. It's just this happens at this time. That's it. Very simple, not overcomplicated. Great battle plan.
Yeah, agreed.
I like all the old ones too. Like I'm a big fan of Prize of Galette. I really like In the Presence of Idols. I think they're good plans.
No, all those plans are good. It's just like there's a reason why they're still there because they got played and people like them, and that's the key thing. Like I think that's when you know that GW was looking at is that the plans that people played stayed, and then he just added new ones.
That's probably true.
Like yeah, because I remember for a while we had like the same like 6 for a while in each GHB, like Border War.
Yeah, everyone's played.
Yeah, was it
Border War? Who started
Knife to the Heart?
Knife to the Heart, like all those ones, like each.
Take and Hold, which is Knife to the Heart, but front into the sideways.
Yeah, so like all those battle plans.
What was the random one? Starfall, where it just fell somewhere.
Star Strike, something.
Star Strike.
That was, I think, the beginning of the 2nd edition.
Yeah, but everyone ran it though. But everyone
you ran 2d6, so it's probably going to land in the middle. But every now and again, you'll draw like a 12, and it's like right.
Yeah, but like the thing is, like
there was a version of that in the first one. Yeah.
But like everyone took those because like that's like they said like the reason why they stayed for so long is because they saw that everyone was playing it. They're like, all right, these clearly work. Here you go. And the fact that no one's taking twists and turns speaks volumes. And I'm pretty sure the intern who wrote it is now fired. But
no, they're probably throwing it into like head of gaming.
Fucking ridiculous.
If you think GW are quick to jump on incompetence, I don't know.
Well, so this is the thing. So we'll quickly round this episode up, but we'll have this discussion of what do we think is the best armies in the meta with this GHB currently at the moment? Like, which ones do you think succeeded the most with it so far? I'll bring up the GW Meta Watch, even though it's the one that I don't like them.
Can we comment on Meta Watch and how the very obvious misrepresentation of the fact that the second you get a new book, they should go straight back to 0 because it allows them to take Gloomspite, who are performing really poorly, who will then probably actually have like a 70-75% win rate. They get dragged down by the old book and they can go, look, we've almost balanced it. It's really close. And then by the time that it's actually...
I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this right now. Gloomspite Spits is like skyrocketing since their new book. So...
Yes, but that's also factoring in them doing incredibly poorly before the new book. And Beasts of Chaos have gone the other way in that they were doing great. They've hit a wall with their new book, and it's making it look like they're still a top faction.
I think the Bok problem is more representation than...
Yeah, no. So basically,
in my opinion, Bok is probably one of the best books to come out this year. But I don't think many people are playing it now because the skill floor went through the roof.
Yeah,
I agree with that too. I just think they should reset regardless, because then if you've got the representation issue as well.
No, I'd agree with that.
Like I'm going to tell you this right now. Doors of Cain.
I think they know what they're doing, conspiracy theorists, but I think they know full well that that's going to make them.
Doors of Cain. I'm going to tell you.
No way they've not thought of that.
I'm going to tell you straight up. Doors of Cain is not a 49% win rate army. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I don't know where the fuck they get these numbers from. What's Slaves on? Like 41%.
High represented army though, Doc.
Slaves is that freaking... This is GW's one. I can bring up the Honest Wargamer one, but I have to go through a whole bunch of websites. But pretty much, Slaves of Darkness is at 47%.
They're way higher than that.
They are way
also
higher
representation army, because that's an army a lot of people have.
Yes.
And they will use old stuff for things they've had for a long time just to play it and see how it is, or they want to use the Archaon model or like...
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that just want to
So
push their favorite toys around, and they're probably
Yes.
dragging that win rate down a little bit. But I still
They've
think
got
it's higher
their
than
new book to use that old stuff they've had for
like
years.
to give you an
so-
idea, right? So this whole thing, this is the thing. I just don't like how they give out an image, being like, this is the image, and you can't like adjust it of like done by representation stuff. But the Honest Wargamer, he has done one where it is like showing that. But to give you an idea, right? Like I can tell you this: every time when I look at the stats, and I always look at doors. The only reason why I look at doors is because I use it to compare how I'm going myself as a player. So if let's just say I went 4-1 at an event, right? But apparently the rest of the world is at 50% win rate. That makes me feel good knowing that I'm like, all right, so clearly for the meta, right, I'm pushing the army's limits kind of thing. But then I look at how many players are actually playing Daughters, and I'm like, oh, right, no, I'm like one of 20 in the world that are playing it right now. So like that's the kind of stats that I think they should start showing when it comes to stats of GWs being like they're not overly represented. Because, yeah, it's completely wrong.
Look, it's pretty clear that the Honest Wargamer stats are leaps and bounds ahead, but
It is.
I really like the fact that they're doing something at least. Like at least they're actively saying, "Hey, we know what's going on in the meta," or we're actively attempting to try and track things like this. They're not just doing what they used to do and being like, "Well, just have this book and eat shit for 6 months until we decide to
I
change."
think they are by not resetting it when the book comes out, and that's why I think I know what they're doing because they're still doing the exact same thing. And look at the Gloomspire.
I think what Jared's
Yeah, but
saying.
things are getting changed a lot quicker than they used to.
I'm telling, like,
Yes.
I think what Jared's trying to say as well is, it's like, no, compared to what they used to be, where they didn't give a crap about the stats and stuff.
Yeah.
Like this is leaps and bounds. The fact that they even do a Meta Watch article every like 2-3 weeks is huge.
It's good. It's definitely a positive.
Yes.
I think there's a few things that they still need to pick up, but I'm glad to see it.
But yeah, so like at the moment, I think the armies in my head that do really well are Lumineth, Zeech. What other armies are there in this freaking thing? Iron Jaws, I actually think are really good.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
Iron Jaws are actually secret filth, and I think the Iron Jaws players need to do better if they're not winning most of the events because they have really good.
The players are letting the army down for once.
Look, they actually got good GCs. Like you can just run mega bosses and you just tank everything. Like you have a cabbage, which is literally like a distraction kind of effects running around, and then you got GCs.
Mighty Destroyers is probably the best command ability in the game.
Yeah, hands down.
Out of phase movement, and the amount of out of phase movement that Iron Jaws have is ballistic.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Korn is really good, especially with their new book, which we can talk about another time. Slanesh now, with every single hero having a ward save. And then and Nighthorn, I think, are actually really good.
I would agree with Lumineth. I think Lumineth are very, very good now because of their ability to reach out and target characters not in shooting. So things like Searing White Light or the Rune of Petrification or the Realm spell with Techless, being able to lift little characters without having to target them is fantastic.
Yeah.
I would agree with Zeech. I think Zeech is probably one of the best armies in this GHB because they can summon GCs.
And then they can just straight up shoot it from spells.
Yeah. And again, it's that magic lift a GC without having to shoot it type thing.
Yeah, agreed.
I definitely agree with Iron Jaws. Maybe. The new KO book is really good. I think another really good one is Fire Slayers. Because the main downside of Fire Slayers as an army is you just shoot the heroes off and the whole army falls apart. So not being able to target the heroes, that army is very good.
Yeah, agreed. And especially with their battle line also being really tanky.
Yep. And like Hearthguard Berserkers get a 4-up ward save as long as they're within 9 of a hero.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If you can't remove that hero, then they're on a 4-up ward save for the whole game.
Yeah. Nurgle, maybe.
They're a big winner.
Nurgle's good. But you don't see Nurgle much anymore because I think there's heaps of armies now from the last GHB. People have moved on now. And Nurgle's one of them.
Nurgle's moved away from the pin and win fly spam thing. I think it was a gimmick and people are like sort of bored of it now, whatever.
I think people realize that there's actually
no GCs in that list, so
yeah. But yeah, no, those are the armies that I kind of like stick out for me, and hopefully when this GHB is over in like 3 months, I just don't have to see it ever again, like at all.
Gloom Spider good.
Gloom Spider good.
I don't think I don't think Gits will be as good if we move out of this GHB and you can just shoot off the heroes. Because
Agreed.
if you can just take off the Squig boss turn 1, then the Squig hoppers get a lot less effective.
Yeah, and then if this rule stays though in like 4th edition, then they might come back up.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of, it'll shake up the meta. There'll be a lot of armies that play a lot differently than when you can target everything.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. Yeah, amazing. So this is our first episode we're recording. If you're listening to this in podcast form, this is also up on YouTube, and also we stream this on Twitch. So make sure you follow us. Details will be in the description. Our next episode, we'll be talking about our time at the Orange event War Under the Mountain, which I'm super excited to talk about. And then, if you're on YouTube, you can join us on Twitch to watch this live and ask questions on the fly when I promote this properly. And again, that will be linked in the description. And then, yeah, that's generally it. Any final words, guys? Anything you want to like say or anything before we sign off for this first episode?
I think we covered it.
Amazing. Sweet. Enjoy, guys. Thanks for listening.
See you guys.
Bye.